So, when I was at WBZ as an intern, the editor, the news editor, once told me that she would bite my fingers off. It was kind of one of those jokes. It wasn't even in private. It was just something that got. I don't remember her full name. It was Kate something. And this is these are the people who edit. These are the gatekeepers who decide what goes on the fake news. If I think of her last name, I'll tell you. I can't at the moment. It'll come to me eventually. But here's the thing. This same Kate person, who is the anchor, not the anchor, but she decides, well, this story goes, this one doesn't, and she edited. She had the final edit on all of them. She's the editor at WBZ. I don't know if she's still there or not. But I'll tell you, these people are not in their right minds. And she's a big Ted Kennedy supporter. I don't remember what it was, but I was in a news meeting with Peter Casey, the manager at WBZ at the time. They realized he was kind of dead wood, so when iHeartRadio got them, they just kind of got rid of him. But anyway, this Peter Casey fellow who's not a good person for a lot of reasons. We're in a meeting, and she's just so bloody offended that anything awful should be said about the Kennedys. I think it was because the Senator Kennedy had just passed at the time, and but she was very she was emotional. She was emotionally triggered over the fact that anyone would say anything awful about the Kennedys. And there's a mourning period, and we all seek to be respectful. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because, the deep state is located here in Massachusetts, just north of the hub of the universe. I mean, it's the deep state. I don't want to give them more credit than they deserve, but Obama gave them quite a foothold inside the FBI. As most of you who keep up with America's Man's Man and current events through your kind of independent sources are well aware. There's communism, and it's, again, I name the enemy because that's kind of where you can source most of this too. It's communist demoralization. That's what's kind of taking down America, and I do believe that the Kennedy family is a family of communists. Now the Kennedys have done some nasty things. Nasty thing. I don't have to tell you what they are. They're just about the Kennedys really epitomize the Weinstein-esque leftist tradition of destroying good, upstanding women. Why did they do this? I would venture. I mean, if I had to, again, using my years of expertise in understanding the human condition and the slow, steady decline of America because of fake news influence, because this is not just a flighty conspiracy theory. This is a long-suffered, professionally and academically studied area of expertise of mine, since I'm probably the only communications major doing something useful with their journalism degree in the United States, while everybody else seeks to titillate and excite for cheap thrills and basically run your brain through a washing board. There's a lot of truth here, and I don't want to come off like the fake news journalists, because there are so many bad people that they fell into a bad way, and There are a lot of entertainers, infotainment types, and I'm not here to entertain you primarily. I understand that like C.S. Lewis wrote and said, you generally want to, you want to show up. You use, you kind of comport yourself in society with manners, because it's common courtesy. There's a kind of a common courtesy that we all kind of respect, and it's what helps humans to triumph over the mundane experience of being human, particularly in the United States. Anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is, I'm not here primarily to entertain you. Entertaining you is a part of being courteous, and making this as fun as possible, because we take on a lot of very dark topics at americasmansman.com, because not because we enjoy doing it, but because there are people and agencies which are supposed to be doing it on our behalf, whom we are paying tax dollars to every time you pay your end of year taxes, or every time you go to or have someone go to the grocery store to buy buy your groceries. You're paying a sales tax in unless you're in New Hampshire or I don't know, in Florida. Florida's a sales tax. Anyway, so anyway, there's I think I did stumble upon something rather weighty. I say stumble upon because, the truth is the deep state doesn't like it when you reveal the evils that they've committed. The Kennedys are a perfect example. Harvey Weinstein, I guess the deep state didn't really have any reason to protect him, but the Hillary Clinton, it's very likely. I don't know what's going on with that whole Epstein debacle, but it's very likely that someone from the deep state, the Hillary Clinton camp, the deeply entrenched anti-American forces lodged within our government, the same people who attempted to take out an insurance policy on Trump becoming president, the famed FBI adulterers. Anyway, the deep state is not to be overestimated. However, knowing what I know about the deep state, I don't want, and being located very close to the heart of it, the enemy's lair. Again, the so-called deep state does not. They don't like America. They don't like us people who are doing the right thing day in and day out. Anyway, I think I stumbled upon something rather huge. I think I did. And again, I have no way of knowing, but I know. What I do know is that because I looked through all the fake news articles to see if any of them kind of correlated with. Anyway, a couple days ago, I released an episode in which I recounted to you. And by the way, of course, I would never release the name of the victim, because it's kind of a victim's decision to reveal whether they whether they would like to kind of reveal their identity. However, I do need to double down and affirm that it is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, just in case, for whatever reason, our imperfect, our best in the world, state-of-the-art, exceptional justice system here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, just in case, our best in the world United States justice system happens to fail in some way or another. I just want to affirm, and I'm sure it won't, but in the minute chance that it does, I want to affirm, in case the deep state does retaliate against me. Talk about whistleblowing. Real whistleblowing is what I did at Brookstone, and the real whistleblowing is what I'm doing now. And I'm trying to do it in the most tactful and courteous and civil way possible. But the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God, as God is my witness, with God as my witness, what have you. I know a girl who says she was raped by a member of the Kennedy family when she was a child. I witnessed the medical consequences of this rape. Approximately a decade after this rape by a Kennedy family member happened. What's my motive in reporting this to you, the audience of americasmansman.com? Because it's left, I know it's left a lot of you with a lot of questions, and all I can say, my motive in coming forth with this information, on the victim's behalf, without identifying the victim, and without any plans to identify the victim, is that there are two, the same reason really that I produce all of these episodes, and that we're continuing this discussion, and that is simply that there are two worldviews. There are two worldviews which are battling one another. It's what good people, the good Dr. James Dobson has, and other highly esteemed, wise people have called the culture war. This is a war between two worldviews. There are some people who believe that America is, if you're like the majority of Americans, you believe that America is good, and that it was founded upon God, and that we are an inherently Christian nation. We're an inherently Christian nation because we were founded by people who came to America as a missionary enterprise, whether it be the Puritans or Columbus, who stumbled into this great place without knowing it, but just knowing that he wanted to Christianize whoever was there, on behalf of God, because that's what we Christian people do. So you're one of those. You're one of those. So we have two worldviews here, and again, this is why I do what I do. This is why americasmansman.com exists, and this is my purpose as the man who says what needs to be said regardless of thinking primarily about whether it's right or wrong, rather than what may come of it. I'm about the truth, and that's why I got into journalism. I thought I would be allowed to tell the truth, but journalism is the opposite of the truth, and most things which are reported by the fake news, meaning ABS, CBS, all of the Associated Press related organizations, if they report something, it's actually less, I believe in my heart that it's actually less likely to be true than if they had never spoken about it at all. And that's a very loaded statement, and it needs to, but that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about the fact that the Kennedys were not good people, are not good people. However, they represent all of their behaviors. I know they've never called themselves communists, but their behaviors, their ideologies of baby killing, of woman killing, are consistent with everything anti-American, everything that the communists said about attempting to promote in the United States. Even the Catholicism of the Kennedys. And I say this as a former Catholic, I do believe that Catholicism is evil, at the very best, an anti-American force, and there are people within the Catholic Church who want to do the right thing, who want to be patriots, but they're still very they have to get beyond theological cultish webs of Catholicism in order for them to understand, why the demonic nature, or the trip-ups of the religion or cult of Catholicism. And again, that's another loaded topic that the purpose of this episode is not to explain. The purpose, I'm telling you, the reason I make this video is because some people are wondering, well, why would I make an episode about this? And the truth is that it's a lot larger than that one victim. Actually, this is also kind of tied into my other larger mission of producing fallmusical.com, which is it's really an allegory to address the issue of our time, which is the breakdown of the family in America, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and why television, why fake news, why media is largely responsible for the death of fatherhood, the death of motherhood, and all of that. That's inherent. When people are crying about the polar bears, that's really just displaced angst that's stemming from the breakdown of the family, and this is the American problem that leads to all others. Of course, it's tied in with the whole feminist thing, and but the reason that I make this video, again, always being respectful to the, I never named the butch lesbian at Brookstone, and I never named publicly, people involved know who it is, but I never chose to bring her into the limelight, even though despite what she did to me, and even here this has less to do with the actual victim of the Kennedy raping than the fact that there's another Kennedy rape out there that's never been reported, and there are probably a lot of them. There are probably a lot more, because this is a pattern. This is a pattern of rapes by the Kennedy family, and I believe that it needs to be told. I believe it's important that people know that somewhere out there in this, maybe she's not even in America anymore. Maybe she's not alive anymore. Who knows? somewhere out there, because of what the rape did to this person. That's another thing about this rape. It was so brutal. This is what gets to me, that you have to the butterfly effect of what the Kennedys did to people in breaking down the family. I mean, this is why the fake news loved the Kennedys so much, I suppose, because they, the fake news and communism is all about using the system from within to promote chaos. And this is the demonism of Catholicism, and I know Catholicism firsthand, having been one. And the Kennedys, and I know the deep state, and I've talked at length about the deep state influences within Massachusetts, from Linfield Public High School to and Linfield Middle School. It's atheistic communism, but the purpose of recording this episode, which nonetheless has drawn, has obviously gotten the attention of people even that I'm not aware of, I'm sure, is that the Kennedys represent this other worldview, which I believe is the primary threat to America, which is this atheistic communism demoralization, and this idea that somehow America is something less than God's exceptional nation. Because unfortunately, to very sick, very disturbed people, to a large contingent of people who just can't get it together, can't get their lives together, who only know how to share misery, and they don't believe that, unfortunately, they haven't been educated, that they have the potential to exhibit that American greatness that we talk about at americasmansman.com. Unfortunately, there are people out there who are threatened by the fact that America is God's exceptional nation, that we are a city on a hill, that we are a good people. We are a good people because God makes us that way. We are the land of the free. We are the home of the brave, and you only need to visit, just one of those places in the globe that's not New England, to meet some of the very finest Americans who exist, people in our military, people who are serving in law enforcement, people who risk their lives, as I might be doing now, in order to ensure that your home is safe. Well, the Kennedys may be mostly gone, but they have left behind a very bad, a very malicious, a very anti-American legacy. Because just like as I've said multiple times, people make the argument regarding homosexuality being legal now, that it's nobody's business what these people do in their bedrooms. Well, no, there are repercussions and there are butterfly effects. When the Kennedy raped this victim, when a member of the Kennedy family, this is what this victim told me, and I know that she was telling the truth because I know that she wasn't making it up. I believe her because under the circumstances, there's no other motive that she could have had for saying such a thing. It would be an absolutely ludicrous, absurdist lie, that there's just no reason that she would have possibly lied. And moreover, I witnessed the consistency in her story, and I witnessed the medical repercussions of what this member of the Kennedy family of this rape by a member of the Kennedy family, who happened to be dating this victim's mother. And none of this is personally identifiable information. So it's not. I mean, you're not going to be able to figure out who this is, and frankly, it's not really it's not anyone's business, and I don't. I'm not. I don't. The idea. I think it would be. I think digging into this and trying to get more facts by someone who's not. The last thing I would ever want would be for the fake news to try to reveal the people's identities, and I think that might even be beneath the dignity of the fake news. I need you to know that the whole ideology, everything that the Kennedys stand for, their leftism, their raping of women, it all goes together with this leftist ideology, and that if we're to be a better nation, we need to reject the Kennedy ideology. We need to reject the disdain for God, everything that went with the Kennedy ideology. It's a bad way. It's everything anti-capitalist that Kennedy stood for, because it's ultimately just like homosexuality. It leads to AIDS and anal bleeding, that sort of thing. I'm sorry about the gruesome details, but this is I have to get this out because I don't know, who knows. We're all only here for this brief breath that all of us call life, and I suspect that I've agitated the deep state just by revealing that this happened more than they're accustomed to. And anyway, I bring this to light because leftism, communism, what have you, there's a lot of names for it, but leftism in general, some people call it liberalism, although I wouldn't call it that, but we'll say liberalism. Everything the Democratic Party stands for is hypocritical. It doesn't work. It doesn't add up. There's something that doesn't add up. And ultimately it's self-defeating. It's individually self-defeating, and eventually, if you follow it long enough and hard enough, then the women in your life start getting raped. Why did this member of the Kennedy family do it? Why did they rape anyone? I guess they were probably perhaps some childhood repression, I suppose, that they just had to they had to validate themselves by becoming president of the United States. Kind of like Barack Obama, again, following in the same legacy of communism. And I know, it's like, don't use the word communism, people call you crazy. Well, that's what it is, folks. Okay, that's what it is. I know. I know how the word sounds, because I know the fake news over the years has gotten you to laugh at it, but that's what Kennedy stood for. That's what Barack Obama stood for. That's what the whole Democratic Party today stands for. They're a bunch of anti-American schmucks, and just because a particular person comes from a family tradition or ancestry that's been oppressed or whatever, that's not an excuse to make an unwise person the leader of the free world. If just because they've been hurt, it's like it's like Lady Gaga being raped. Again, she stands for everything the communists do. And I'm sure she was a Barack Obama supporter. Just because she was raped, yes, we feel sorry for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that they can't logically. Although there are a lot of reasons I would suggest it. Anyway, it doesn't just because someone has been hurt to a large degree, that doesn't necessarily mean that they should lead other people, because people who have been hurt tend to hurt other people. That's notwithstanding some kind of major revelation or an epiphany or a born again experience, like like Saul, when he was knocked off his horse by the light of God. And that's really what it takes. That's why it's not wise to take life advice from Hollywood celebrities, because frankly, most of them are like Lady Gaga. They've been done the wrong way by the wrong person, and that's why they do what they do. America's man's man is here not to entertain you, but to educate you and to be a vessel, a vehicle of America's redemption and renewal. And that can only happen if we identify the enemy. And the enemy is communism. The enemy is atheism. The enemy is anti-Americanism. The enemy is, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The enemy is that darkness of the human mind that comes from all those bad thoughts that the communists and the fake news media seek to feed in us, when a better America used to starve out those things with the Protestant work ethic and all things that are good and holy and American, namely Jesus Christ, in a word. So I'm telling you about this, and I say it again, this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Because I may not get to say that in a court setting. If, in talking a worst case scenario here, the deep state prevents me from doing so, the same way that the deep state has prevented the truth from getting out in other situations, where the Kennedys have raped someone, or where Hillary Clinton has rigged an election. These are sick communists. They live in the deep state, and the deep state is unfortunately entrenched in the highest levels of our government, and we haven't uncovered. We've only gotten to the tip of the iceberg of it, and for what it's worth, from America's man's man, there's at least one other child rape victim who was raped so forcefully that she's never going to be able to have children. Her life expectancy has been drastically reduced, and she faces a multitude of other symptoms that permanently disrupt her life. And moreover, she can't tell anybody about any of this, because if she does, I can only imagine the consequences she would face. And I think that's why she's been psychologically walled away, that she may never tell anybody. So I'm telling you that there's a rape victim, and that it was one of the Kennedys who did it, and that I know her, and I heard it from her mouth, and I witnessed the physical repercussions of all of it. This is America's Man's Man, americasmansman.com.